Good morning, everybody. At least where I am, it's early in the morning. It's just hitting 6 a.m. here, and I'm just getting up for the day. And I go on the computer as I usually do. And there's an article here that's just really coming out onto the internet. It said something like Bob Dylan hits boiling point on stage over cell phones. And I followed a link, and apparently this is something that's just been here in the news for 13 hours now. And looks like Rolling Stone reporting this says Bob Dylan is not a fan of you taking his photo on stage. And it's by Andy Green. And I'm going to read this to you because a lot of people might not know about this yet. I'd like to get some feedback on this. What do you think, pro or con? It says Bob Dylan has had a strict no photos policy at his concerts for years, but that's rarely stopped fans from taking over their cell phones and trying to snap a few images before security swarms. But on Tuesday night at a show in Vienna, Austria, he finally reached his boiling point when he stopped singing Blowin' in the Wind after one verse to admonish the audience. We can either play or pose, he barked into the microphone, according to multiple reports. It's your decision. He then stepped backwards in an angry huff, tripped over a guitar monitor, and nearly hit the floor. The band helped him steady to his feet, and he then went into a truncated version of It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry, before walking off for the night. The band finished the show with an instrumental version of Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues, which had been the finale throughout this whole tour. The incident marked the first time that Dylan had spoken to the crowd in some time. Audiences used to only hear his speaking voice when he introduced the band, but he stopped doing even that about 2 years ago. Before most shows, audiences are informed that photographs are not allowed. At New York's Beacon Theater last year, ushers roamed the aisles with flashlights and shined them directly at anyone using a phone. Repeat offenders were threatened with ejection. Dylan hasn't, however, gone to the lengths of Jack White and Chris Rock by refusing to let anyone even enter his show with a cell phone outside of a sealed bag. And it goes on and on and on. It says, an angry Bob Dylan is a scary sight, though video of the Vienna incident has yet to surface. Well, that's it. What do you think? With a lot of issues like this, I'm always of a kind of like, not black or white, but shades of gray in the middle area. I try to think of both sides. Now, on the one hand, I certainly can understand that, don't want to be photographed, don't be taking my picture, don't record me, don't put me up on the internet. Everybody these days, everybody has a phone, everybody's recording things, and when you're at a concert, you can put them up online. So I completely understand that, and I could see Dylan being annoyed. I mean, things have to be very different these days with the technology to somebody like Dylan, who's in his 70s, compared to what he's used to. I mean, he's been doing this since the very early 60s, and he's not used to everybody holding up phones and lights and pointing them at him everywhere. But I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit to myself. I think this reminds me of the song "The Times They Are A-Changin'," right? A lot of times people like to do that. If you have a certain feeling, if you're talking about how you don't like the world today, a lot of times us older people, people that are 40 and older, they'll talk about how the world is today, and some people will say, what Bob Dylan said, get out of the new road if you can't lend your hand. Because the times they are a-changing, like Dylan would love to sing that when he was just basically a kid practically. But it's hysterical to me that now here he is getting to be a guy that says, get off my lawn. And now he's being kind of like stuffy and not really going with the times himself. Hey, Bob, this is the way it is today. People have smartphones. It's another way of looking at it, right? People have smartphones. People will take your picture. You go on stage, you don't have any privacy. And that's what it means, I'm sure you well know, to be a celebrity. I mean, if you're a celebrity, that goes with the territory, unfortunately. People are going to take your photo a lot. And, he did a song later on, which kind of shows me my interpretation of it. It's called how he's kind of changing his view on the times they are changing theme. It was a song called "Things Have Changed," and he said he basically the main line in the song says, "I used to care, but things have changed." I always looked at that song as a more modern era take on him rethinking his "the times they are changing" thing. I don't know if that was his intent, but that certainly comes off that way. You know, it's easy when you're younger to sit there and say, "Oh, you know, let's all have all this kind of like." Anything goes, new policy, stop being like your parents, your sons and daughters are beyond your command, get with the program. This is the new world. Times have changed. Yeah, well, remember that, Bob. So, anyway, there's my two ways of thinking about this, and I really would be interested to hear your take on it.